Hello, fourth grade learners. It's Mrs. Pence. And as I shared with you in the preview video this week, we're finishing our thinking on patterns and numbers. And so our work this week is beginning to just kind of wrap up our thinking on patterns and numbers using input-output boxes. And what I noticed in class, and maybe you noticed this as a learner, might be true of you, is the students did an excellent job thinking about multiplication and then addition and subtraction, but they kind of had a tricky time with division. So that might be one thing that you're thinking about with the division. And as I've shared with the students, we know that division is the inverse or the opposite of multiplication. So if we are feeling uncertain about our division facts, we can turn them around and think about them as multiplication facts as well. So if you look in your packet, we're going to begin thinking about this work, and then we'll do a few of the things for homework. Excuse me. And then that'll be our work for the day. Here's my pen. All right. So in your packet, you see these little squares. There are y, excuse me, one more time. Here are the variables, w and y. So our input is going to be variable w. Our output is going to be variable y. We remember that a variable is just something for like an unknown, or we're renaming something. We talked about how that input outputs, I like to think about them like a machine, that some number comes in and then something happens in the machine and then another number goes out. And what we have to do as mathematicians is begin to think about like what's happening here in the machine. As a number comes in, something happens, and the number goes out. And that's going to be the rule for the table. So we're going to write an equation based on this table, our input-output table. So I noticed that the number 3 comes in, something happens to 3, and then out on the other side is the number 27. And then in comes the number 4, something happens, and then 36 goes out on the other side. And the number 6 comes in, something happens, and 54 goes out on the other side. The number 8 comes in, something happens, and 72 goes out on the other side. So the question is, what's going on in the machine? I'm noticing the first question is my number increasing or decreasing? And I'm noticing that from input to output, the number increases. So there are two options when a number increases. It's either going to be that we're multiplying, the machine is multiplying by something, or it's adding something. It's multiplying something or adding something if the number's getting bigger. So I'm looking, and I see 3 and 27. And if we wanted to try adding, I know that 3 plus 24 is 27. Okay, so if we're saying that it's adding, then I'm going to look at the next row. So I have 20. If we say that we're going to add 24, I have 24 and I have 4 here. And 24 and 4 is going to be 28. But my output number is 36. And so my rule must not be adding 24. That must not be what my machine is doing. So I'm going to mark that out, and I'm going to do a little more thinking. And I'm thinking instead of adding, then we must be multiplying. So I'm trying to think like, what would it be multiplying by to get from 3 to 27? And hopefully you're thinking in your head also 9. So 3 times 9 is 27. Let's see if that's true about the other. 4 times 9 is 36. Nice, so far so good. 6 times 9 is 54. Yes, and 8 times 9 is 72. So the rule, or the equation that we would use, is going to be W, which is our input. And what's happening in the machine is we're multiplying by 9. And that's going to equal our output. So W times 9 equals Y. And what is the number that completes the table? Well, I'm looking here, and I'm noticing that we have 9. And we say 9 times 9 because that's what the machine is doing. And what would be here in the question mark? And it's going to be 81. 1. So 9 times 9 is 81. Let's look at the next one. Our input variable here is C, and our output is D. And I'm looking at our input output. So we've got the number 200, something happens, and out goes 175. In comes 175, something happens, out goes 150. In comes 125, something happens, out goes 100. So the first thing I'm going to begin thinking about is what's happening to this number? Is it increasing or decreasing? So I'm noticing that the numbers are decreasing every time. So my operations are either going to be subtraction or division when a number gets smaller. Those are my two operations. So I'm going to start with subtraction. So I have 200 and then I have 175. And I'm trying to think, what would be subtracted to get from 200 to 175? So I'm going to do a little math over here. So 200, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to subtract 175. I'm going to do some regrouping. The 2 becomes a 1, and I'm going to move 10 tens to the 10 column. That doesn't help me in the ones yet, but now it does. I've got something to regroup. That 10 is going to become a 9, and I'm going to move 10 1. So I have 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. I don't have any in the hundreds column. So it looks like I'm subtracting by 25. Let's see if that would be true. 175 minus 25, is that going to give us 150? I'm going to say yes. I'm thinking about it like in quarters. So 75 minus 25, or 75 cents minus 25 cents is 50 cents if I took away that 1. And then I have 125 minus 25, that's 100. So I'm going to write the equation. So C, which is my input, and then what's happening in the machine, and we said that we're subtracting 25, is going to equal D, which is the output. And then it says, what number completes the table? Well, I have 75, and I'm taking 25 away. So 75 minus 25 is going to be 50. Or I could do that math over here. 75 minus 25, I think about it like quarters. It's going to be 50. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says, what is the rule for this table? This time it's not vertical, but it's horizontal. So we're kind of moving this way. So we're going to start with E. Something's happening from E to F. I'm noticing from E to F every time it seems like, it doesn't seem like it is, the number's getting smaller every time, right? Which means that something's happening inside the machine that's causing it to get smaller. Either my operations are subtraction or division. That's what causes numbers to get smaller. So I'm either subtracting something or dividing by something. So I'm going to start with subtraction because that's easier. So I'm going to take 12 and I'm going to think, well, what would happen in order for 12 to become 2, what would happen? What would I need to subtract? And I would need to take away 10. So 12 minus 10 is 2. Well, I have 18. Let's see if that would work for that. 18 minus 10. 18 minus 10 would be 8, right? And 24 minus 10 would be 14. So it's not going to be subtracting by tens. So if it's not subtracting, then I'm going to guess it is dividing. And these were the questions, I'm going to put a star by it, because these are the ones that I noticed in class that some of the students had trouble with. And here's what I would tell you. We know that division is the opposite of multiplication. It's the inverse. So 12 divided by something is going to equal 2, or 2 times something is going to equal 12. It goes both ways, right? So you could think about it either way. 12 divided by something is 2, or 2 times something is 12. And I'm thinking, well, 2 times 6 is 12. So I'm going to try that. Let's see if that's true of this one. 18 divided by 6 is 3, or 3 times 6 is 18. I notice 3 times 6 is 18. So it looks like dividing by 6 might be our rule. Let's try the next one, make sure. 24 divided by 6 is 4, or 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and write the equation for that. So it's going to look like this. E, which is our input, divided by 6 is going to equal F, which is our output. That's our equation. And then it says what number completes this pattern? Well, I'm going to do 48 divided by 6, or something times 6 is 48. And in my head, I'm thinking, what times 6 is 48? And it's going to be 8. 8 times 6 is 48. This is where knowing your multiplication facts comes in really handy. You got to know them, right? Here we go. Notice this one is running horizontal too. Something's happening from 1. So the number 1 comes in, something happens, and the number 16 goes out. The number 3 comes in, something happens, 18 goes out. And I'm noticing that from my input to my output, it's increasing. It's getting bigger, which means I have two options. Either we're adding or we're multiplying. And so I'm going to try adding first. So I'm trying to think, how would I get from 1 to 16, or what would I need to add to get from 1 to 16? And hopefully you're thinking in your head, 15, like I would add 15. Well, let's see if that's true of this one. If I have 3 and I added 15, would I get 18? And I'm thinking yes. Well, what if I had 5 and I added 15, would I get 20? And the answer is yes. So let's go ahead and write this rule. J, that's my input. And the thing that's happening in the machine is we're adding 15. And that's going to equal K, which is our output. Now we're going to finish the rest of our table. So we have 10, and our machine is adding 15. So what number would come out on the other side? 10 plus 15 is going to be 25. So 25 is going to come out on the other side. Let's look at M and N. So we have M, that's our variable for the input, and N for the output. And I'm looking, remember, and I'm noticing what's happening to the numbers. Are they getting bigger or smaller? And I notice they're getting bigger. So our operations, in your head, you're thinking multiplication or addition is happening. So I'm going to start by thinking addition, because that's easiest. So I'm thinking, how do I get from 2 to 6? And I'm thinking I would add 4. So 2 plus 4 is 6. Let's see if that works for the next one. 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4 is 7, not 9. So we must be doing something different. So I'm looking back and I'm going to say, well, if we're not adding, then we must be multiplying. So what times 2 is going to give me 6? 2 times something is going to give me 6. And hopefully you're thinking 3. Well, let's see if that's going to work for the next one. 3 times 3. That's what's happening in the machine. Is that equal 9? And it does. So let's go ahead and write the equation. We're going to say M, and what's happening in the machine is we're multiplying by 3, and that's going to equal our output, N. So what number completes the table? Well, 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is going to be 24. So 24 is going to finish that table. What is the rule for this table? So I have 22 and I have 10. I'm noticing I have 21 and 9, and I'm noticing that it's getting smaller. It's decreasing. That means my operation is either going to be subtraction or division. I'm going to go ahead and start with subtraction. So I have 22, and I'm thinking, how do I get from 22 to 10? Like if I subtracted something, let's see. Well, I would need to subtract 12. So 22 minus 12 is 10. Well, let's see if that works for 21. 21 minus 12. Let's see. I'm going to need to do some regrouping. So 11 minus 2 is 9. 1 minus 1 is 0. So is 21 minus 12, that is 9. So far, so good. Let's try this last one. 20 minus 8. Going to need to do some regrouping. 10 minus 8 is 2. 1 minus nothing is 1. So 20, whoops, I didn't mean to do 8. I meant to do 12. 20 Let's try that again. Whoops. I was looking at the number. 20, not minus 8. Although you can see that that's working because it's going to be 12. But go ahead, 20 minus 12. Regrouping still. 10 minus 2 is 8. 1 minus nothing is 1, so 8. So it looks like that's going to be our rule. So let's go ahead and write our equation. R minus 12 equals S. So what number completes the table? So we're going to have to take 16 minus 12. So 16, oops, let's do that. 16 minus 12. Oops, you can't see that. 6 minus 2 is 4. 1 minus 1 is nothing. So which one completes it? It's going to be 4. Okay, let's look at this next one. What's the rule for this table? We have A and B. So A is our input and B is our output. And I'm noticing from our input to our output, it's getting smaller. So two things could happen. It could be we're subtracting or we're dividing, one or the other. I'm going to start with subtraction. I'm going to ask myself, how do I get from 8 to 2? Or what would I need to subtract? I'm thinking 8 to 2 would be, I would be subtracting 6. Well, let's see if that's going to work. 12 minus 6, is that going to be 3? I know that 12 minus 6 is 6. So that's not going to be my rule. So instead of subtraction, I'm going to try dividing, right? So I'm thinking 8 divided by something is 2, or we know that it's the inverse, the opposite. So we could say 2 times something is 8. So 8 divided by something is 2, or 2 times, and we're thinking 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, or 2 times 4 is 8. Let's try that for the other one. 12 divided by 4 is 3, or 3 times 4 is 12. 16 divided by 4 is 4, or 4 times 4 is 16. So far as working, let's go ahead and write the rule. So we have A, and our rule is that we're dividing by 4, and that's going to give us B, which is our output. Now we've got to find the missing number. So we're going to take 34 divided by 4 is something, or what times 4 is 34, or 32, not 34, 32. What times 4 is 32? And hopefully in your head you're thinking 8. 8 times 4 is 32. Last one. Our variable input is F. Our variable for our output is G. I have 2, and I have 7. I have 3, and I have 8. I'm noticing every time it gets larger. And so my operations are addition or multiplication. I'm going to try addition first. How would I get from 2 to 7? If I counted up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm counting up by 5s, or adding 5. Let's see if that would be true here. Would 3 plus 5 equal 8? It would. So far, so good. Would 5 plus 5 equal 10? So that must be the rule. So let's go ahead and write the rule. So F, which is our input, plus 5, that's what's happening, is going to equal G, which is our output. F plus 5 equals G. So I have 10. Let's finish this pattern. 10 plus 5, and that's going to be 15. All right, here you go. We're going to do just a few together, and then this is your homework. Okay, so number 1 says, identify, describe, and extend each pattern. So I see the number 5, 8, 11, 14. And again, in our head, we're thinking, what's happening in that pattern? Is it increasing or decreasing? It's increasing. So we're either going to multiply or we're going to add. One or the other. Let's try adding first, because that seems to be easier. 5, how would I get from 5 to 8? Well, I'm going to count up 5, 6, 7, 8 by 3. I would add 3. Let's see if that works from 8 to 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes. 11, 12, 13, 14. Add 3. It's 14. Yep. So our pattern must be we're adding 3. every time. So let's extend the pattern. So 14 plus 3, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 plus 3, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 plus 3, 21, 22, 23. Okay? Look at number 5. It says, use the rule starting and the starting term to write the numbers in the pattern. So the rule is going to be we're going to subtract 9, and we're starting with 93. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do a little math here. I've got 93 minus 9. I'm going to need to do some regrouping. Move some 10s over, or move some 1s over from the 10s. So I have 13 minus 9, and that's 4. 8 minus nothing is 8. So my next number in the pattern is going to be 84. I'm going to take 84 and I'm going to subtract 9 again because that's our rule. Do some regrouping. 14 minus 9 is 5. 7 minus nothing is 7. 75. We're going to need to do it again. Regroup. 15 minus 9. 6. 6 minus nothing is 6. 66. One more number in our pattern. Subtract by 9. Regroup. 16 minus 9 is 7. 5 minus nothing is 5. 57. So those are the numbers that are going to be in that pattern. We're going to skip down to number 7 because this time our pattern doesn't have one thing that we're going to do to the number, but it has 2. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply by 2, and then we're going to add 3. Okay, so I have the number 4. That's what we're starting with. First, we're going to multiply by 2. So 4 times 2 is 8, and then we're going to add 3. So 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we're going to take 11. We're going to multiply it by 2. 11 times 2 is 22. And we're going to add 3. 22, 23, 24, 25. And then we're going to take 25 and we're going to multiply by 2. I think about it like quarters. If I had 2 quarters, it would be 50 cents, right? So 25 times 2 is 50. Add 3. 51, 52, 53. And this last one, I'm definitely going to need to do some math. 53 times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. I have 106, but I have to add 3. 106, 107, 108, 109, 109. Let's look at the next one, number 9. This time we are given a pattern, but it gives us only some of the numbers, and we have to figure out what the pattern is and fill in the rest of the numbers in the pattern. So I have 49, blank, 37, 31, blank. So I'm looking what's happening in the pattern. Hopefully you're seeing that the number is going down, which means either we're subtracting or we're dividing. So I'm looking, I can't really tell anything from this, so I'm going to have to look here from 37 to 31. How did I get from 37 to 31? Well, if I subtract 6, so 37, this is what I was thinking in my head, minus 31, and that's 6, right? So I'm subtracting by 6. Let's see if that pattern's going to work. I have 49 minus 6. So 49 minus 6 is going to be 43. 43 minus 6 is 37. 37 minus 6 is 31. 31 minus 6 is going to be 25. That's going to be my pattern. Number 13, same thing. We're thinking about identifying the rule and then filling in the table. Here's my in, here's my out, here's my in, here's my out, here's my in, here's my out. I'm noticing that the numbers are decreasing. So I'm either going to subtract or divide. So I'm looking what's happening from 9 to 2. Well, I'm going to start with subtraction. So what could I subtract from 9 to get to 2? And I'm thinking I'm going to subtract 7, right? So 9 minus 7 is 2. Let's see if that's true. 13 minus 7 is 6. 13 minus 7 is 6. Let's try over here. This one's done for us. 21. 21 minus 7 is 14. That is true because 3 times 7 is 21. 2 times 7 is 14. So 21 and then 14, which means our rule is going to be n, which stands for a number, minus 7. Like we're subtracting 7 from our input. Or you could say n minus 7 equals out if you wanted to. Okay, so let's finish the pattern. 15 minus 7, that's one of my favorite facts. 15 minus 7 is 8. And this time, it gives us the output, but not the input. So instead of subtracting, I'm going to need to add 7. So 11 plus 7 is going to be 18. 18 minus 7 is 11. So, and going both ways. Okay. And then number 15 asks for you to fill in the table below using the rule. So we're going to take that number and add 12. So I have 1. 1 plus 12 is 13. 4 plus 12 is 16. 6 plus 12 is 18. 13 plus 12 is 25. 20 plus 12 is 32. Okay, and then on this side over here, it says, which of the following, which pattern follows the rule multiply by 4 and subtract 5? So I'm thinking 3 times 4 minus 5. 3 times 4 is 12 minus 5 would be 7. So that's not going to work. I'm going to mark out A. 3 times 4 is 12. Minus 5 is 7. So far, so good. Let's try the next one. 7 times 4, that's 28. 28 minus 5 is 23. That says 12. That's not going to work. Oh, wow. Miss Pence is not reading very carefully. I'm glad you're with me. Multiply by 7, comma, subtract 5. So we have 2 things in our pattern. Okay, so that's going to make a difference. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then the next one is minus 7. So is 12 minus 5 7? Yes. Is 7 times 4 11? And the answer would be no. It would be 28. So let's go to this next one. Just check. So 3 times 4 is 12. So that's not going to work. Let's try here. 3 times 4 is 12. Yes. 12 minus 5. 12 minus 5 is 7. Yes. Now we multiply. 7 times 4. 7 times 4, 28. Yes. 28 minus 5. 28 minus 5 is 23. That one's going to follow that pattern. Okay. I think, and number 7 and number 8, if you look down, it gives you part of a pattern, but you're going to have to continue to extend the pattern in order to find the 10th term. So we'll look at number 7. So we have 8, 14, 20, 26, 32, 38. I'm noticing that my pattern is increasing. So either I'm multiplying or adding. And I'm noticing it seems like I'm adding. Let's see, 14 minus 8. 14 minus 8 is 6. So looks like I'm adding 6. Let's see if that's true. 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. 20 plus 6 is 26. 26 plus 6 is 32. 32 plus 6 is 38. So far, so good, right? But I need to know what's the 10th number. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got some more that I've got to figure out. Well, 38 plus 6. Let's do some math over here. 38 plus 6 is 44. 44 plus 6 is 50. 50 plus 6 is 56. 56 plus 6 is 62. That's the 10th number. So D, 62 in my pattern. Okay? All right. Your job is to finish the rest. That's your homework for tonight. And I look forward to seeing it later.